The European Union has formally launched the internal process to unblock the €90 billion loan for Ukraine.
Germany is reorganizing its armed forces. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius presented a military strategy.
The European Union has formally launched the internal process to unblock the €90 billion loan for Ukraine and the 20th package of sanctions against Russia. Hungary or Slovakia may still prevent the adoption, but diplomats believe it is unlikely following the restoration of the Druzhba oil pipeline. The procedure is expected to be concluded on Thursday.
So indeed, once the measure is taken also by the Council, we can move on and without wasting any further time on moving on to the next steps in terms of being able to disburse the Ukrainian loan amounts to Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the pipeline damaged in late January by Russian drones was repaired and could resume operations.
Євросоюз просив Україну відремонтувати нафтопровід «Дружба», який росіяни розбили. Ми відремонтували. Сподіваємось, що і Євросоюз буде реалізовувати домовленості.
The EU loan has been blocked for months by outgoing Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. He has accused Kyiv of blocking oil flows for political reasons.
Germany is reorganizing its armed forces. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius presented a military strategy on Wednesday. The German government has analyzed how threats could develop in the future, which scenarios are realistic and which potential conflicts Germany must prepare for.
Selten war eine Militärstrategie so nötig wie in dieser historischen Phase. Die Bedrohungslage hat sich vor allem seit Putins Krieg gegen die Ukraine verschärft. Außerdem wird die internationale Rechtsordnung so sehr in Frage gestellt wie schon lange nicht mehr oder wahrscheinlich seit dem Zweiten Weltkrieg noch nie. Anders ausgedrückt, die Welt ist unberechenbarer geworden und ja, man muss auch sagen, gefährlicher.
This rethink strategy includes air defense, long-range weapon systems, and the ability to conduct modern data-based combat. New technologies, such as artificial intelligence, will also play a greater role in the future. Another focus is on deep strike capabilities, the ability to hit targets far behind the front line. Pistorius made it clear that such capabilities will become increasingly important in the future. This includes long-range precision weapons that can be used to take out enemy supply routes, command centers or infrastructure at an early stage. In parallel to the reorganization of content, the German government is planning a significant expansion of the Bundeswehr. The aim is to have a total of 460,000 soldiers, consisting of active troops and reserves. There are currently around 184,300 active soldiers.
Former Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin believes Europe is vulnerable without Ukraine and demands the EU build its own military capabilities and increase European nuclear deterrence. Speaking with Euronews on Wednesday, Sarin said Europe cannot rule out a war with Russia and so must adequately prepare.
Russia is, as we speak, they are preparing themselves. They're modernizing their army and they're preparing themselves to much wider fight.
So they're preparing for war with Europe? The rest of the continent?
I wouldn't rule that out. And we also need to prepare. And for that, we need strong Ukraine, because Ukraine has the largest, most functional and modern army with modern warfare experience.
Speaking about NATO, the former Finnish Prime Minister said the Defence Alliance is a different organization now than it was before.
Because of the changing relationship between US and Europe, it has already changed, and it is changing, and this is a fact that we cannot escape. And it means that we need to focus on our own game. We cannot anymore only rely on the US presence and US capabilities. We have to build our own. And now we are speaking European defense capabilities and European unity, European military forces. And I think this is extremely necessary discussion. And we should also discuss more about the European nuclear deterrence. This is a discussion that I see happening already and the necessity to have it.
Luxembourg's Foreign Minister Xavier Bettel compared the discrimination of minorities in Hungary under the Orban government to policies of fascist regimes.
It's not the fact that I'm gay that I just fight for gay rights, but it's the fact that I fight for minorities, and it's always easier to fight against the smallest group in some countries. Being gay is not a choice, but being homophobic is a choice, and to do politics by blaming someone reminds me seriously that how it starts also with Jewish people and then with gypsies.
Orban's legislation prohibited showing to children content relating to gay or transgender issues, arguing it violated child protection laws.
I told to Victor at that moment when he wants also a ban about in Hungary to speak a bit even about LGBTI questions that I didn't become gay because I watched TV.
Bettel was speaking to Euronews at a meeting of foreign ministers in Luxembourg when the European Court of Justice ruled that Hungarian anti-LGBTQ laws violate EU rules and infringe on equality and minority rights.
The Russian publishing house Exmo has confirmed that its CEO and 3 other employees are being questioned as part of a criminal case on extremism over the publication of books dealing with LGBT themes. In its statement, Exmo said the probe was related to titles published by another company, Popcorn Books, which was bought by Exmo in 2023 but closed this year. Popcorn Books' audience was targeted at teenagers and young adults, and some titles contained LGBT characters or storylines. According to the version of the publishing house, which rejects all accusations, the interrogations are related to the testimony given by the Popcorn Books employees accused in the case. The Kremlin has for years been hardening repressive laws against the LGBTQ community as part of what President Vladimir Putin touts as a drive to promote traditional values, including cracking down on films, books, art, and culture. The ultra-conservative social turn has accelerated amid the Ukraine war, with strict censorship on media and the outlawing of what Moscow calls the LGBT movement as extremist.
Pope Leo XIV denounced the colonization of Africa's minerals and the lust for power in Equatorial Guinea as he made his final visit in his tour of Africa. Adoring crowds in the largely Catholic country lined the roads from the airport into the administrative capital, Malabo, cheering his visit. The pontiff is the first to visit since St. Pope John Paul II in 1982. The former Spanish colony on Africa's western coast is run by the continent's longest-serving president, Teodoro Mbasogo, who has long been accused of corruption and authoritarianism. Leo, who arrived from Angola, met with Mbasogo at the presidential palace and then addressed government authorities, diplomats, and civil service representatives. Pope Leo, marking the first anniversary of the death of his predecessor, quoting Pope Francis, denounced income inequalities, which he says were exacerbated by the evils of capitalism and a global economy focused on the pursuit of profits at all costs.
Graphics of persecuted Russian female activists, imprisoned artists, and innocent political prisoners have filled Madak Square in Budapest. Most of them committed little more than daring to criticize the Putin regime, particularly its invasion of Ukraine. In some cases, a single social media post was enough to be condemned. Their stories are being commemorated in an exhibition organized by the Russian feminist anti-war resistance and the Austrian Cultural Forum.
Az egyik legmegrázóbb eset talán a 12 éves Maria Moszkályová története, akit egy iskolai rajzpályázaton készített háborúellenes alkotása miatt szakítottak el az édesapjától és került állami gondozásba.
The Women Against War Human Rights exhibition has already travelled to Paris and Vienna. In Budapest, it remains open day and night until April the 30th.
In mid-February, a large cage from an abandoned fish farm surfaced in the waters of Ithaca. Drifting through the Ionian Sea, it polluted the surrounding waters of the Greek island and posed a risk to passing ships and boats. The Coast Guard eventually brought it ashore, after which the environmental organization Healthy Seas took responsibility for removing it from the beach and recycling the materials.
There is a system change needed. There are existing laws, but they are not applied or enforced properly in Greece. So first, the responsible owner of the fish farm, abandoned farms, should take care of removing them, cleaning them up, or if not, then the competent authorities. But it's a matter of capacity, money, skills.
Abandoned fish farms have been a long-standing problem on the island. At some point, operators ceased their activities but failed to dismantle the installations or remove the nets from the seabed.
Καταφέραμε και ξεπερδέψαμε με τα κτηνοτροφία τα οποία ήταν εγκαταλειμμένα στο νησί. Έγινε ο καθαρισμός από τη Healthy Sea, αν θυμάστε, πριν 3-4 χρόνια. Όμως με τα κομμάτια των ηχθειοτροφίων τα οποία φεύγουν και τα οποία μπαίνουν και εμποδίζουν την αυσιπλοεία, έχουμε συχνά τέτοια φαινόμενα.
Since 2021, Healthy Seas has cleared tons of discarded nets from the island's seabed. The team is made up of divers from the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, Greece, Lebanon and Hungary. Following its initial mission, the organization received dozens of reports about abandoned fishing gear from across Greece.
Αν και το θέμα είναι γνωστό, μέχρι σήμερα κανείς δεν έχει τιμωρηθεί. Η ελληνική πολιτεία μοιάζει να μην μπορεί να αντιμετωπίσει το πρόβλημα, γι' αυτό και ο Δήμος ζητεί τη βοήθεια περιβαλλοντικών οργανώσεων. Από την Ιθάκη για το Euronews, Απόστολος Στάικος.